I'm your huckleberry.
This is the Smoking Guns Podcast.
No G with a Z, POD, Smoking Guns Podcast, here with you on a Memorial Day Monday. Unfortunately, not a Victory Monday, but we'll get into all of that.
No.
This is the Smoking Guns Podcast. I'm Philip Higginbotham. I'm one of your hosts. For the next couple of hours, as we talk about football in San Antonio, specifically football around the San Antonio Gunslingers of the Indoor Football League. That's who we kind of concentrate on. My name is Philip Higginbotham. I'm joined, as always, by my good friends, Leonardo Yamas.
What's up, Smoking Guns Posse?
And R.C. Woods.
Mwah! Hello, beautiful people.
And we're already getting, before we even got started, Mo was fired up, ready to talk. What's up,
People
SGP,
waiting.
Smoking Guns Podcast? We kept you waiting a few minutes. I had to tell all the stories that aren't good enough to tell. No, I'm just kidding. We'll tell some of those stories here on the thing, but I was catching up my friends with everything that happened on Saturday night off the field. We'll talk about some off the field things. We'll talk about some on the field things, and we'll talk about what's to come. James Palmer checking in. Howdy. Calling it Blowout Monday. Leo, let's start there. Do you feel like this was a blowout?
The second half was. I mean,
Yeah, 55-26.
it was a good old fashioned butt whooping. Yeah, we took a spanking. Bay Area Panthers are a really good indoor football team.
They are one of the best in the league. We are lucky to have split the in-season series with them.
Mm-hmm. They might be the best. They might be the best.
They might be. Record-wise, they're not currently, but there's kind of an anomaly in that their loss to Arizona is dependent on just a couple of plays and some fluky kind of things. Iris Ferrante checking in. What's up? Hi. I don't know what the question mark.
Iris.
What's up?
Not scores.
I'm
Maybe
Ron
that's it.
Mr. Tylighter checking in. James Palmer says, it's like we showed up for the first half and went home at halftime. A little bit. I think we were pressing a little too much in the second half, trying to stay relevant against a team that has already gelled and has already done the things that we had hoped we would do by now, and we're just not there. We're not there in our season. We'll talk about all that here in a moment. Star Wars night. Let's start with some of that fun. Really, really fun Star Wars stuff. However, yeah, I got one of those too.
Nice.
There. This is not meant as any shade at all towards the crew that puts on such a wonderful show, but one week, like back-to-back weeks coming off Military Appreciation where they go 100, where they go like 300% for military appreciation. And they have all of these just crazy, amazing things for military appreciation. And then we come to Star Wars night, which is like still 120%. It just feels different. Am I the only one that picked that up, or did anybody else notice that like it kind of felt let down-y, sort of, maybe? Is that just me?
Well, I don't know.
Like what?
And it could have just been I'm up in the nosebleeds.
Up in the
so
booth.
the cool stuff. So
Pregame, walking out in the hallway. I mean, they had Star Wars characters to take pictures with.
Right.
A lot of
right.
Mandalorian characters. There were a lot
Yes.
of Boba Fett and other Mandalorian characters. But walking in through the side door where I normally come in, the media door on the side, I saw an R2 unit. There was an R2D2 there.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Like a life-size, like real R2, like it was probably, remote control type.
Yeah.
And they were working on it, like they were trying to get something on it working, and then I never saw it after that. I don't know if it was used out in the hallway when I was in the game,
Right.
or if there was something at halftime, because at halftime we did leave our seats for just like a couple of minutes and to come back. Well, I was hungry, man. I wanted to go get some food, and the line was very short, so it was only a couple of minutes. They have definitely fixed that,
right?
Or very quick, and anyways, I never saw that R2 unit, so I don't know if they had something else planned, but technology just failed and they couldn't get that working, because I didn't see it except for when I walked in.
I don't know how many they can line up, but my advice, or one of the things that I would love to see, and I know this is like a whole extra thing to put on to Jordan and April and all of the people that make this thing go, but for theme nights, especially something like Star Wars night or retro night, I would love to see them clip some movie clips, some quick quotes kind of stuff, and throw them up on the Jumbotron. Let's get a That's No Moon, or Never Tell Me the Odds, or some of that kind of stuff. And then going into retro night here in a couple of weeks on June 7th, let's get some Goonies stuff and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and just real quick in between the play sort of stuff. And again, I know that's adding more to the plate of people that already do way too much. And Alex McSwain missions, it's a quick turnaround from 1 week.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I think lends itself or signifies this, is because it was 1 week after the other. The music was cool. The Star Wars remix stuff, Missions Highlighter said, was really cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. The PA guy.
You two guys are like the movie gurus. You guys had a whole podcast after football season. Maybe y'all should kind of gather some things and help them out.
Not it.
Okay.
Missions Highlighter said the PA guy that was filling in for Roland wasn't into it, just filling in. Hey, there's something you may not know about all of that. That gentleman during halftime had a medical emergency, and there was another gentleman from TSP that had to step in and cover the second half because of the medical emergency. So you actually had two different guys there, and one of them had no idea walking into the building he was going to be doing PA announcing. He was just doing his best to hold on tight. So I think he filled in great, given the fact that it was hey, Warren was there. Warren was in the stands on Saturday. Awesome game, player interaction. The end was awesome. James Palmer says, coming into retro night, we need the DeLorean so we could replay the second half. Yeah, no kidding. And Mission Highlighter, sorry to hear that. Yeah, as far as I know, he's okay and everything's fine. But right there at halftime, you may have noticed, I know several people in the stadium noticed that up there near where we were, there was some commotion, and that was a medical emergency going on all the way up in the PA booth that had to be taken care of, and paramedics had to be involved, all that kind of stuff. So given all that, which you may not have known, which was, by the way, the reason we were late tonight was I was telling that story to RC and Leo. That lent itself to that particular issue, the PA booth guy. And I'm sure the reason that, I can see the guys rappel down with the flag. I could see the specialized uniforms that Jordan did for military night. I am stuck up in the nosebleed seats of the Freeman Coliseum, so I did not see some of the things that we often get to see. So maybe that was just me.
I don't know what Philip wants. Philip wants like a Star Wars stunt show, something like at Disney World or something.
Look, it's not hard. All you have to do is fly a TIE fighter into the arena at halftime and make it do a couple of circles around the field and then fly it out. Like, that's all I want.
Total missed opportunity. Yeah.
That's all I want.
We need a TIE fighter next time, guys.
All I want is a real Yoda to come out on the field and lift some rocks and stand on its head. That's all I want.
You're not asking for much.
Is that too much to ask?
No, not at all.
A full lightsaber battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. a la Mustafar, throughout the entire halftime. I don't see why we can't do that.
The entire halftime.
Yeah.
That
Like
spills out into the stands and
a
everything.
15-minute long
Yeah.
lightsaber battle with two acrobatic performers all the way through the stage. I don't think that's too much to ask. I think that would be great.
We did have drones the first game, didn't we?
We did have the drone cam, yeah.
That was cool. They
Yeah,
can kind of like add some stickers and make them the fighters.
Well, I'm almost certain they make Star Wars drones like shaped like
I
TIE
bet you they
fighters
do.
and X-wing fighters, and you could have had like a little starship battle throughout the Freeman. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm kidding. It was great. I mean, the one thing I will say about Star Wars Night that I always love, I've loved it. The first year we did it there in the Freeman Coliseum all the way through Saturday night, when the lights go down and all of the lightsabers are out there waving, like very cool. Just a very cool thing going on there with the lightsabers out in the crowd. It's a very neat scene to watch and to see.
Who remembers what I dressed up as last year? Because I wasn't able to make it this year. Anybody? Any of our fans out there remember?
You were.
I remember.
A Wookiee? No. What were you? You a Wookiee? Did you do
Chewbacca?
Chewbacca.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alex was saying years past there was a costume contest. I'm not gonna lie, Alex. It's entirely possible that something more was planned for halftime that did not happen because the Jordan and April were up in our area helping deal with
the medical emergency.
The medical emergency. There may have been more planned that just did not happen because something bigger than football was happening in that moment, or bigger than Star Wars Night was happening in that moment. I don't know that. I can't be sure of that, but I can be sure because I'm standing up there, watching what's going on. And it's very odd because we know we were the first ones. That's why when you go back and listen to the broadcast, you hear Ralph call out for a medical emergency and, get some help. We were the ones they notified because they're right there in that booth, and they walked out to tell us that there was help needed, and we can't leave. Like we're kind of chained to that table in a way. So he tried to get the word out on our talkback channel, and then there was a equipment issue, and get somebody that was not chained to the table some help, and that's how we got all of that going on. So yeah, Mo agreeing the lightsabers do look really cool. So it's a fun time. I love the jersey. Like
the jerseys were really cool. Yeah,
they came out great. And then I even got myself a hat this week. I've mentioned before, I think on the show, that I'm not a big fan of the rope hat. The hats with the ropes on them. It's just it's a style that it's not my favorite.
You can cut that rope off. Lots of people do that.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Just checking.
I understand that. It's not the rope that bothers me. And on a hat like this, it really does right into the hat. It's just the rest of the cut of the hat. It's just not my favorite thing in the world. However, when I saw this one said, when I went to go get my football, I was like, I love that. I've got to have that. So I wound up with a guns up.
That is a cool hat.
Let's talk about football. Let's talk some football because there's some football to talk about. Leo, you have been begging them to take the points when the points are available.
Yep.
And in the first half, 4 times, they lined up for a field goal to take the points. But in those 4 times, they were 2 for 4. And I don't want to put that all on Tyler either, because I've mentioned many, many times on this show and elsewhere, remember, there is not a full battery of kick team guys that come in, a long snapper, a holder, the whole thing. And so I don't want to put that all on Tyler. A lot of things have to happen just right to get a kick through a very thin sort of area. But 2 for 4 on those. Do you still think, now that you've seen them do it, that they played the first half, at least, of the game that way, do you still believe take the points?
Absolutely, I do. I think they were in the game at halftime because of that. Also, I'm trying to see if I could find it here because I think you might be mistaken. I think it was 3 times, but maybe I'm wrong. I think it was 3 field goals, and he was 2 for 3 in the first half. But they kept it close because of it. They were still in the game at halftime. And no matter what you do in the second half, that goes out the window because you're down so many points in possessions where obviously
Right.
it's touchdown or nothing. So not including the second half, I realize what the final score was, but I don't think that the downfall was because they took the points when the points were presented in the first half. I still think that was the good call. And I'm not finding it on the stats here. If I find where it's listed,
It looks like it looked like 2 for 3.
I believe
Based
it
on
was
what I
2
can
for
find.
3. Yeah, and the one that he missed
Right at the end of the half, or right at the
was
right at the end of the
near
half.
the end of the half and was on the other. It was a long field goal. It was I want to say it was 40 something yard, 43 yards,
Something like
I
that. Yeah.
believe. That's a long field goal for a condensed,
It is.
goalposts. So, and he barely missed it, by the way.
Right.
It was just outside. So, do I think you go back and you take that back? No, I don't. Those early 2 field goal makes added up to 6 points, which offset one of their touchdowns where they missed the extra point opportunity, and so they were still in it. I think where they started to lose it was just before the half where they scored and the defense allowed a Bay Area Panthers to score with I forget how many seconds was left on the clock. It was less than a minute, I believe.
Yes.
And they went down in pretty quick fashion. I think it took 4 plays and they scored, which took that other possession and put that much more of a gap. But had it not been for that, the score at halftime would have been 20-19. And it would have been because they took those field goals. And if he makes that, well, he would never have had to kick that last minute field goal. It would have kept Bay Area.
Well,
so
and you bring up a great point in that the game really hinged, and so many of these indoor games do, by the way. The game really hinged on the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. Because the way that went both directions, like they did exactly what they, being Bay Area, did exactly what they needed at the end of the first half. They scored and left very little time on the clock for us to do anything with. In fact, all we could do was line up for a field goal, and it was a long one. And that's that is what it is. And then at the beginning of the second half, they get the ball first, and in 3 plays, they make their way down the field and score. And then our first possession ends up being an interception. And so at that point, you're dealing with, 2 to 3 possession differences right there in scoring. And that's where you start getting into real dangerous territory. So everything past the end of the first half, everything in the second half, they're pressing. They're trying to do anything they can to catch up. And they're taking chances that they probably shouldn't take or wouldn't take in other instances. And so you do see a couple of really bad interceptions. You do see a fumble, which we want to talk about in a few minutes. And you see some of those kind of things.
So
you're
I
right.
was
thinking when we came up with the name, the Thicker Kicker, I thought we were original and very creative. Well, it turns out there is another person who's called the Thicker Kicker, and his name is Harrison Mevis. Did y'all know that? Or did you think
does he play for Bay Area?
To coin the Thicker Kicker?
No, but I had no idea. Thicker Kicker, as far as I know, actually came from Tyler Huddle's dad. It's a nickname that he calls him, and we kind of ran with that. But if there's another Thicker Kicker out there.
Yeah, the NFL, I think he plays for the Carolina Panthers, and his name is Harrison Mevis, Mevis. Little trivia.
Interesting. Yeah, good to know. I did find the stat finally, and it is 2 for 3, Philip, by the way. For Tyler. He made first 34-yarder, second a 23-yarder, And in the second, he missed a 42-yarder. That was that last one to kind of end the half.
Sure.
And to add on what you were saying a minute ago, I agree. I think it explains, not excuses, but explains some of the gaffes by the offense in the second half. I mean, there's certainly things that you wish you'd go back and take back, and things that didn't go, a lot of things that didn't go the Gunslingers' way.
Sure.
But where I think it all starts, and where you have to really, as a Gunslingers fan, kind of be a little disappointed, is the performance of the defense. Aside from one guy on that on the defensive side of the ball that just plays all out every game and gives it all. You could see it on the field. You could see it in the way he between plays, between possessions, and the frustrations that he shows. He's really doing everything he can on defense, and that's Clifton Duck. I wish everyone on the defensive side of the ball played the way Clifton Duck does. Yeah. But there was a lot of, I mean, if you put anything on the second half, if you're going to point a finger, you're going to put your thumb on one thing that really caused the Gunslingers to fall behind in this game, besides the fact that they were just playing a better team. I mean, you can't argue that Bay Area just isn't a better football team right now. It was the defense that really kind of, didn't do so well.
But if my numbers are right, was it the third quarter that the Gunslingers literally scored 0 points? The third quarter was bad for us.
Well, yeah, because there were some turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that really hurt us and changed the momentum. So
yeah, the third quarter was a bad quarter for the Gunslingers.
Our 3 possessions in the third quarter: interception, fumble.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
That's
good. The other thing.
Not good.
Since you brought up the word fumble, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit, because some of us in the stands were talking about this and wondering about this ball here.
Okay.
Fantastic looking Star Wars ball with the lightsabers going across with the big logo. Really cool. I had to get one when I saw it in the merch booth.
Yep.
Very slick.
Are they still for sale?
Very slippery. When you compare this ball with this one, that doesn't have the black coloring all on around the entire surface of the ball, you can feel a difference in the grip. I'm feeling it now with my hands. You can feel a tactile, I guess, difference on this ball. And it sure seemed to affect the Gunslingers, but more so than Bay Area. They're playing with the same ball. Bay Area had, I think, 1 fumble. But Gunslingers had multiple, not just fumbles, but actually there were a couple of other occasions where they fumbled the ball but were able to recover it, at least twice that I saw.
Sure.
And I was wondering if maybe it had something to do with these special balls and the paint or whatever it is that's applied to these to get these designs, the ink, that makes them just a little bit. I mean, there are some points in this ball that are very slippery. I don't know. I'm just bringing that up. It could.
But they have those special gloves, don't they? They almost feel tacky when I give them high fives on the side.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Some players, absolutely play with that. The one thing I'll say about that is at least it's the same ball for everybody. I mean, everybody has to overcome that. If the ball is a little slicker or any of those kind of things, then everybody has that issue. It makes me think of outdoor football or traditional 11-man football when you get a rain game and the ball just becomes, just a slick mess, and they're trying so hard to keep it dry. I can remember, of course, 90s and Dallas Cowboys and all of the things that I love. Troy Aikman, there used to be a lot made about how he gripped the ball. He would grip very, very hard. Like he would almost sink his fingers into the ball, and he would do it on the back end of the ball, almost behind the laces. I want to say only 1 or 2 of his fingers would be on the laces, which is fine with a dry ball and a good solid grip. But when that ball gets wet early in his career, I can remember him having fumble issues because of the way he gripped the ball. And when it gets slick, like it's just going to be what it's going to be. And that was a little rough. So you may be right. You could be right. Turnovers was bad. Turnovers were bad for the Gunslingers in the second half. I just mentioned what the third quarter looked like for us with an interception, a fumble. Interception, fumble in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, we had a touchdown, an interception, and that's it. Like we only had 2 possessions there in the half, and one of those ended. Our final one was an interception again. So let's talk a little bit about some individual things that we noticed. We talked a little bit about these turnovers. I want to talk about one specifically because I noted it on Saturday night, and you want to talk about quicksand and how bad decisions in a microcosm can hurt your team on a whole. Our second possession of the third quarter, our second possession of the second half, I guess you would say, the Gunslingers had the ball and were moving. For all intents and purposes, we're kind of moving down the field. It was a 5-play drive. On the 5th play of the drive, Collazo gets a little bit of pressure. He kind of lofts the ball over to Kali. Kali gets the ball, and then Kali Rashad is just doing what Kali Rashad does. He is trying to make anything happen.
Right.
And he ends up getting the ball poked away from him, and it's a fumble that goes the other direction. This is bad decision compounded on top of bad decision.
Yep.
Joaquin never should have floated that ball over to Kelly. I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, let me get it in the hands of a playmaker and see if he can make a play. So I don't blame him for the decision he made, but it got over there so slow.
Yeah, the ball floated. It was
just floated up in the air. And then when I keep wanting to say Harper, when Kali got it, he's just trying to make anything he can happen, and he doesn't just take the loss and go down, and it hurt us.
There were 3 white jerseys around him.
Yeah,
when he caught the ball,
right?
Like not after he caught the ball. When he caught the ball, there were 3 guys waiting, so that it didn't matter which way he went, what move he made. There was somebody there to cover him, and he had nowhere to go. He was trying to make something happen. Bad decision sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta go down, secure the ball and go down and go to the next play. But better yet, worse decision. Sometimes you just need to throw the ball away if the play isn't there. Just throw it away.
And for the most part, I think Zoe does that. By the way, we're calling him Zoe now. This is Jen. Jen from the Gunslingers came up with this. She said, I think we should just call him Zoe. And I loved it because we have internally debated, Ralph and I, and then other people in the Gunslingers organization, all game long kind of debate, or all pregame debated about Collazo or Collazo. Even though he'd come on the show and said Collazo.
It's Collazo.
There was some debate, and I was talking to Jen at one point, and she's like, I think we should just call him Zoe. And I was like, I love it. And so I actually worked it into the call some on Saturday night. And so we're just going to go with Zoe. Like that's our new thicker kicker. We're going with Zoe. That's
nope. I disagree. No, I won't.
You don't have to. We are.
I heard you say it in the broadcast, and I heard Ralph not say it.
Yep.
On occasions when he had opportunity, and I was like, "Good for you, Ralph. Don't give in," because I'm like, Philip, stop trying to make this a thing.
Nope, it's a thing.
No,
it's a thing.
No, as my
time out, boys. Time out.
Officially a thing.
As my fellow double L brother, Collazo, I gotta stand up. I gotta stand up for my fellow double L brother and say that you can't just ignore the double L's. Okay? Are you gonna start calling me? Are you gonna start calling me Mas? Is that gonna be a thing? It's because you don't want to say Yamas.
Maybe.
No. His name is Collazo.
Means more.
It's not that hard, people. Zoe the only Zoe that I know and will acknowledge as sports was Alonzo Mourning, because he went by Zoe. That was his nickname. I was like, Philip, stop trying to make this a thing. It's
and
not.
now and now so does Joaquin Collazo. He goes by Zoe too. Zoe's a thing. We're making it a thing. It's official. It's a thing. Everybody gets a nickname, and this is the one I have decided. I have decreed. This is what we're going with.
I'm digging in for my double L brethren.
Nah, forget that.
We cannot be ignored. We cannot be just thrown aside. The double L is the thing.
Nope. It is. Look, his name is Collazo, and 80, 85, maybe 90% of the time on the call, that's exactly what I called him. But when I need
how about we call him JC? Joaquin Collazo.
No.
JC. I like JC better than Zoe.
No.
Me too, RC.
Nope. It's Zoe.
JC.
It is. This is the hill I die on.
Really? Okay. Doesn't take much.
From now on, he's known as Zoe. In fact, I'm going to start calling that more. I'm going to do it even more.
Boy,
stop it.
Huh? You can ask him.
So here's the deal. You don't get a say on your nickname. People who make their own nicknames are the saddest people in the world. I'm not going to lie.
George Costanza.
Yes, exactly.
Remember that episode?
Those are the saddest people in the world, the people that try to make their own nickname. That doesn't work. That almost never works. Okay? And so, no, your wife is coming in here and that's for him to decide. No.
So, Philip, what's your nickname?
I'm not telling you.
And then Leo.
I'm not telling you because I don't want people to call me it because it's not one of my favorite things in the world.
That's not fair.
I will tell you, I walked in to my church as a teenager. Okay, I'll tell you the story. I walk into the church as a teenager. We had a brand new youth minister. I introduced myself. Hi, my name's Philip Higginbotham. And he goes, Higgy. And I could call him right now. I still know this guy. He's still a very good friend of mine. I could call him right now. And he would say, hey, Higgy. He would answer the phone that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make the mistake of telling this story like I just did. And other people pick it up too. So
Higgy.
From now on, you're Higgy. Absolutely.
And he is Zoe. That's the way things work. That's the way it works.
So Tony Scalisi, I don't know who this person is, but he's adamant. I bet he's family. Because he says thanks, Leo, and he's Collazo with 2 explanation points.
Collazo.
There you go.
Yes, that's his name.
People take pride in their family
JC,
name.
I'm going with JC.
It's not.
Who likes JC?
No, we're not. This is not a vote. We're not having this. Jen and I made this decision. Jen threw out Zoe. I loved it. We're going with that. That's it. It's done.
Leo, what was your nickname?
My nickname has always just been Leo.
Oh,
but yeah, because my full name is Leonardo. I like Alex McSwain's idea. We'll just call him by his full name because he actually came back. He came back onto the show last week to comment and make sure we knew what his full name was.
Right,
Joaquin Antonio
Collazo. So
that's great.
There you go. That to me sounds like a man whose last name is important to him.
Everybody gets a nickname. Zoe.
All right, Higgy.
It's a thing.
P. Higgy.
Yeah, you don't get to pick your nickname. So
Theo Tony, there you go.
Theo Tony. There you go. That's how we know.
Hola, Theo.
Yeah, so if Joaquin is good with it, we're going with Zoe. If he's not good with it, I'm probably still gonna end up going with Zoe because you don't get to pick your nickname. That's just true. But if he doesn't like it, Jen came up with that. Go talk to her.
Too much.
It was certainly her idea, but I like it, and so I picked it up. We had a JC the first year of the Gunslingers. That's right, we sure did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
sure did.
We can call him JAC, Jack. Joaquin Antonio Collazo.
No.
We had him on the show last week. We should have asked him what his nickname was or what he goes by.
Hey, there was the opportunity for that. That's one of RC's questions she normally asks. She didn't ask, so I came up with something. Boom, done. And it's got the Z from Guns Up. Like, it's there. Like, it's there. Zo. It's Zo. It just is.
Well, I do
I'm
like
running
the
with
Z
it.
part, but
Yeah. See? Just running with it. It is what it is. Anyway. Rough second half. Not much more to say than that. Leo, do you think, you asked me this question before the show. I'm going to steal your question.
Okay.
And throw it right back at you, even knowing what you're going to say, because all of these wonderful people don't necessarily know what you're going to say. Is this the Gunslingers coming back to the pack, and maybe they weren't as good as that game against San Diego would lead us to believe, and maybe there are more issues than we thought? Or was this just a really good football team and we ran up against them at the wrong time?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think more of it is the second part is part B. It's just a superior football team, and we came up with them at the wrong time. Brand new quarterback with Collazo.
You can just call him Zo. That's cool.
Collazo. Brand new quarterback, still gelling, still learning the system. I think they're still getting things together. I think on a couple of the interceptions, mainly one, I think you could tell there was Nyquan Murray was breaking to the middle of the field and he threw the ball to the outside. That right there tells me miscommunication.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think Collazo is an inaccurate quarterback.
No.
I think no. Yeah. I don't believe that at all. I think that was just miscommunication. That's stuff that just takes time to get worked out. So a big part of it was that, but I go back again to the defense, and there were some miscues on defense. There were some bad coverages on defense that against any caliber team, whether it's the Bay Area Panthers or the Northern Arizona, whoever it might be, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, pick a team. Guys should not be that open.
Right.
Defensive backs should not be that much out of position.
Yes.
Tackles should not be missed. Arm tackles, wrapping up, things like that. The other thing I haven't mentioned is special teams. There were times, and I know everybody might say, well, you're just, you're a Kali fan and Kali can do no wrong. No, I'll point it out when my guy Kali Rashad, doesn't perform to his usual caliber. But on some of these kick returns, he had nowhere to run because there were guys waiting for him when he gets the ball because the blocking just wasn't there. So those are the type of things that you can't blame on facing a superior team. Those are just mental errors.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that we're mid-season now, and that stuff really needs to go away. And that's what has me a little bit nervous is these mental errors needs to get cleaned up.
I'll make a comment about the same question that you had, Philip. So I did a little bit of research, and yes, I understand we made lots of mistakes. We had some.
She pulled out the reading glasses. She's serious.
I know.
She pulled out the reading glasses.
I'm old. Remember, I'm the senior here. So Jones last year, which is the quarterback in 2024, he was the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
So he had a good year last year. He's definitely having a good year this year. So yes, there's a part that we need to fix up. We need to gel. We need to do all this. Correct the errors, but I do believe the Panthers, they have a good team this year.
Oh yeah, I think they are one of the best, maybe the best in the league. And so the fact that we split with them is really, really nice. We got a win earlier in the season, and I don't think we need to discount the fact that somebody said just a second ago, Bay Area came out on fire and didn't want it to be a close game, and they were playing smash mouth football. I think part of that was just, hey, this team beat us, and we don't like that. We don't like that they came into our house and beat us earlier this season. Josh Jones might have been the difference in the game because he was discombobulated in the first game of the season second game of the season where we took them on. Our defense had him just completely discombobulated. He was not that player this time.
No.
He was on his game. He ran the ball. He threw the ball when he needed to, but he didn't need to. They leaned so heavily on their running game. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and they threw 17 passes. I can't believe they threw that many. Like, that seems like too many passes. They did a lot of running, a lot more than we did.
Ran it down our throats. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think it was something that we talked about on the show last week that we better be ready because they were going to come out really wanting revenge and really want to win this game.
Yep.
I think that was an understatement. Just being down on the wall and seeing some of their celebrations and even interacting with the players a bit and warm-ups and stuff that I got to do with some of those Bay Area Panthers. They were hungry for this win, and they were really, really excited to kind of embarrass us, on our home field. They were, you could tell this was something that they really, really wanted, and they played like it. I got to talk a little bit with I think it's I'm going to butcher his name, Tufalelli.
Yes.
BJ Tufalelli, who plays defense for the Bay Area Panthers. He was pumped. He was pumped for the game. Got to interact with him a little before the game and during the game. He even came up and kind of laughed a little bit. We had James Palmer ringing that big old cowbell, which is really loud. Right, he's on the kickoff coverage. He's standing right in front of us, and he's ringing the bell right next to his head. And he comes down the next time, and he laughs, and he's like, "You could just do that every time. It don't bother me." He's like, "My hair, I got built-in earmuffs with my hair because he's got the long mane." He's like, I could barely hear it anyways. So I just kind of laughed at that. But yeah, no, they were focused on really putting a beat into the Gunslingers.
Yeah.
And I think it absolutely has everything to do with week 2.
Well, they've got an incredible setup in their backfield there with Josh Jones, who we've just been talking about. And then number 2, Joshua Tomas is just a spectacular playmaker. He is one of those guys that you just find ways. I mentioned this in the broadcast. You find as many ways as you can to get the ball into his hands because he does something.
He's like our Kali.
The thing is, we've never used Kali that way. We should. Yeah. I think we should. I think there are times, and I think we attempt that. Like, Kali runs the ball a lot more now than he used to. And I think there are some design things that are set up for Kali just to get the ball into his hands and see if he can do something more than we used to do that. But it was clear to me that their game plan in a lot of respects was, we're going to get the ball to number 2, and he's just going to do something with it. And he did. And that works. When you have a guy like Josh Jones and then another guy like Josh Tomas, the rest of the team still really good, just fills in the holes.
So Tomas he's fast. James Palmer made a joke during the game. He said he's so fast that the H fell off of his last name. That's how fast that dude is.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica Palmer says that bell James Palmer has is just a bit too loud. I had history, though. It was around a cow's neck on his great-grandfather's farm.
It is loud.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Alex McSwain said he needs to cross-check, but in the game program, they only had one vet.
Yeah, he showed me that. I was shocked.
That's incredible. Like, that is incredible to have those guys and know you're going to have multiple seasons with those guys if you can keep them together. That's a big deal.
So to kind of poke the bear, and we kind of talked about before the show, do you really think that the Panthers or the Rattlers are a better team than the Panthers?
I mean, I think right now it's 1A and 1B. I think either of those teams, when they go up against each other, could come out on top. More so, like, that's true of any football game. Like, that's just the case in any football game. But in that case, like, I think you would just have to flip a coin. If you were going to make your bet, if you were going to lay your bet on that game, I think you just flip a coin, because I think they're both really, really good teams.
I think they're the two best teams in the IFL right now.
Okay.
I think they have their own tier. Like, if you were to
Yeah,
create
I mean,
a ranking, new tiers, Quad City
might have something to say about that, but
is there. But yeah, Arizona and Bay Area are both really good.
yeah, I think they're both incredible teams. I think they're going to be the 1 and 2 in the West. I think everything beneath them is up for grabs. So I don't think we're out of it yet. We'll talk a little bit about what the future holds and whether there should be hope or not for the season. But I think everything below them, from Vegas all the way down to us, really, I don't
The
know.
Wranglers?
Arizona's coming on in a way that it's kind of scary. But I think mathematically they just are going to have a long road to hoe to get into the playoffs, and we do too. Like, we have to have a lot of things break just right for us to get into the playoff picture. But I think everything below Bay Area, which is now in the number 2 spot, is just kind of up for grabs. And those two are the cream of the crop. The cream rises
Top
to
tier.
the top. I just rhymed and I didn't mean to. And even Quad City, Tulsa, Jacksonville, those are all 6 and 2 teams. But I think when they go, I think we have a little bit of this West-East thing that we saw last year. And when any of those 6 and 2 teams goes up against either Arizona or Bay City, I think Bay Area, I think those 2 teams will make them look bad. Like, they will not look like 6 and 2 teams.
Because the Eastern section has a 3-way tie with Quad City, the Oilers, and the Sharks. They're all 6 and 2.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is I don't think any of them. I think all 3 of them up against either of these 2 teams at the top of our side of the map would just look silly. Quad City against Bay Area. Bay Area is going to. I would be shocked to see that even be a game. Like, Quad City's good, but they're not playing on the same level that Arizona and Bay Area are playing on right now. They're just not.
Yeah.
I think we are top heavy in a way that they are not over there. I think the 2 best teams are clearly the 2 best teams, which is sad. What that means is, even if you get into the playoffs, even if you go on a run and you tear through and you get into the playoffs, you're going to have to go to one of those 2 teams in the first round. Like, they are going to be the host of a first round playoff game. And even if you eke into that 4th slot, or you go on a winning streak and you win all 8 of the remaining games and you get into that 3rd spot, you're still going to have to go play one of those 2 teams in the first round of the playoffs. Now, does that mean, well, there's no point in making the playoffs? Well, God, no. That's not what that means at all. You still want to get into the tournament, but the playoffs are going to go through either San Jose or Phoenix. Like, that's where all of this is going to wrap up for the West, is one of those 2 places. Come on.
Let's go.
Geez. Battle of the running quarterbacks. Yeah, they do both have. Josh Jones is a good quarterback. Very good quarterback. Dalton Sneed also a very good quarterback.
What San Antonio tried to bring him in at one point, didn't they?
Yeah. Ooh, I could say some things about that. Anyway, we'll move on.
We'll move on.
I understand why we didn't. We had 3 quarterbacks better than Sam Castronova in camp. So, I understand why we didn't bring in Josh Jones, because, we had better, right? Bay Area hosts Tulsa on June 7th. That'll be fun. I think I will be surprised if that is not just a game that the Panthers are in control of. Like, Tulsa has looked good in the past few weeks, but they haven't played. I mean, let me look at their schedule and see who they played in the past few weeks. Like they've gone on a great winning streak here, but yeah, they played Iowa. They have played Quad City. Looks good. They played Iowa twice in Quad City. Yeah, I mean, they haven't played Bay Area. They haven't played Arizona. They haven't played these teams, you know? So. Oh, and he was answering a question from James Palmer. I'm sorry. You're right. Alex Hussein says San Antonio brought in the quarterback they'd face this week in Tucson, Jorge Reyna. Jorge Reyna was in camp for us. He was one of the three. Yep. He was one of the three, better than Sam Castrodova, which means you got to be careful. You're going up against a really good quarterback in Jorge Reyna in Tucson. So
better than the guy who was sitting on the couch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're salty. Can you tell we're salty a little bit?
A little salty. A little salty.
We were kind of sold a bill of goods at the beginning of the season somehow, and we're a little salty. It is what it is now. I am very happy with our quarterback play of the last 2 weeks. Look, I know Zoe threw 2 interceptions. I get that. But I was still really happy with the way he played. He's just calm in the pocket.
He is.
But Leo, he's calm in the pocket, but his feet, we talked about this last week when we had him on the show. His feet are dancing like crazy, even though from the knees up, he is perfectly still. But his feet are doing a thing that I don't know if I like or I don't like. And you know, if it's effective, I like it. So if that's what makes him comfortable, that comfortable in the pocket, go for it, man. But it looks weird. It looks strange.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not your typical footwork from your quarterback, but it keeps him ready on his toes, so to speak. And we saw that displayed on a few occasions in this game where the receiver wasn't there. You know, he went through his progression. You could see him go through his progressions. And then he would, when it's not there, he would leave. And he made a couple of plays where I was very impressed. Turning something, and sometimes major gains, first downs out of nothing. I think he's a little bit more athletic than maybe some of us gave him credit for, being a pocket passer, which he is. But he can, when he's got to get up and run, Collazo can move.
Anybody that has been a fan of the show, by the way, we are headed toward. I just got this email today from our hosting site that our yearly bill is coming up. And it made me realize that we are heading into our 6th calendar year as a show.
Wow.
Incredible.
As anybody who's been around the show for a while will know, my big gripe on quarterbacks is when quarterbacks are athletic enough to pull down the ball and run and don't. In this expression of football, you cannot just decide I'm never going to run. I'm always going to use my arm to do this. And I think Malik Henry was one of my big gripes against Malik Henry. I think he was that guy. I think he was one of those guys that was like, I'm going to find it. It's downfield and I'm going to find it. I'm not going to use my legs necessarily. And I've had some other gripes with other quarterbacks that became a long-standing joke around our show about me giving quarterbacks a hard time because they are athletic and they just don't want to do it that way. They want to do it on their arm because they believe that's how a quarterback is measured. I like the balance I've seen so far from Zoe. I like that he will
From JC?
I like that he drops back. He's calm in the pocket, but when it breaks down and he sees the ability, he sees the lane, he'll take it.
Yes.
And he'll run it. And I like that. That's exactly where I don't want a Michael Vick. I don't want a guy that's going to run out of it might have been, I don't know, I may stir up another hornet's nest right here.
You're stirring the pot, Philip.
I feel like Guy earlier in the season got into sort of a run first mentality, like look for one read, if it's not their run, sort of mentality. And I don't need that. Like it worked out well for Guy. Guy was able to make it work. But that's not my preference. I like a guy that can go through his progressions, but when it opens up and it's like, wow, this is here, he takes it. And I think Collazo strikes that balance very well.
He said it.
Yes, Collazo does.
Yeah,
So
I agree. Gallardo does.
Gotcha. No. On that subject, like you,
I'm not saying I'm going to change his name.
you reminded me of his first. The first touchdown was not a pass; it was a run.
Yes, it was.
It was in the first quarter, and he took off and he made that run. And you just reminded me of something that I said, being silly and funny, and was yelling at the Bay Area Panthers. And it won't work with your Zoe, but I said, you just got a nalgazo from Collazo.
I like that one.
Nalgazo is Spanish for spanking. You got to
pow pow.
Yeah.
Bang bang, pow pow.
And that elicited some laughs from people around me that understood what I was saying. But
sure,
you can't say it doesn't have the same effect when you say you just got a nalgazo from Zoe. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't work.
Again, I'm not changing the guy's name, but there's nickname opportunity here.
We need that in a t-shirt.
Hey,
I like that.
James Palmer says, Higgy, you need to stop with the Zoe stuff. You're gonna make Leo mad. I gotta correct you here. James.
I gotta calm them both down. I gotta say time out.
It's Higgy, Higgy. Spell it right, man. Come on. P Higgy. No, that's way too close to Piggy. And I don't want to do that at all.
But you don't choose though. Sorry. P Higgy.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of look, I think you can look at the box score for this game. I think you can look at the final score for this game and you go, the Gunslingers just got taken to the woodshed by Bay Area. And I just don't think that's as accurate. Like first half of the game, all the way up to that the final minute, we were trading with them. We were keeping it close. And I said in the broadcast, and I maintain, a close game favored San Antonio. It just did not stay close. But if they could have kept the game close, which is what I think the field goals were all about. I think the reason that we saw them kick field goals is that the coaching staff understood that, hey, this team has had more time to gel than we have. If we can keep this thing close, down near the end, we may get an opportunity to step up and steal it away from them. And so I really think that's what the field goals were all about. I think it's just a matter of keeping it as close as we can and seeing if we can steal it right at the end over a team that's really, really good.
I think I read somewhere that I saw the Panthers holstered the Gunslingers. I kind of liked it.
Nah.
You liked it?
Darn it.
You like that? You like that the Panthers holstered the Gunslingers?
Am I happy we lost? No, but I like that little saying. It was cute. Calm down, Higgy.
It was Higgy. It was definitely fitting of the tale, though. You're right.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, unfortunately, like James Palmer just said, we couldn't stop them though. We really couldn't. Defensively, we had no answer for that offense.
Well,
Josh Jones in particular.
And it all comes back to the turnovers. Like you even out the turnover battle, and it's a different game, but that's just not where we were. Like, we did have 2 interceptions. We did have 2 or 3 fumbles. These things happen, and they happened a lot to us. Yeah, I don't know. Like, same ball.
Stick them or some better gloves. Yeah, I know.
Same ball. They played with same ball, and they didn't fumble it as much.
Not as much, right?
As much, right. That's the key. I had hope all the way up to, I think it was in the third quarter. I'm pulling up the stat right now, the drive summary right now to check. But I had hope all the way up when we finally forced our own turnover and got the ball away from them. And I'm like, here we go. Now we can turn this thing around and come back on them. and then we immediately turned the ball back over, right? I'm not wrong. This is how it happened, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Bay,
you're right.
Bay Area turnover on downs, Bay Area in the third quarter, and I'm like, here we go. Now we can make this thing start working for us. We go down, we score here. We took a possession away from them, and sure enough, that was the
Naquan Murray fumble off the wall. That was Naquan Murray fumble off the wall.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
That was the first fumble, not the second fumble.
See, that's why I keep going back to the ball, because it's guys like Kali Rashad and Naquan Murray that don't fumble. They don't ever fumble. There was a pass. It didn't matter because that was, I think, just before Collazo ran the ball for a touchdown. But there was a pass that Collazo put perfectly into Naquan's hands on the corner of the end zone. I think on the broadcast, you made a comment how much you love that pass because it was right where there was no chance of anybody else catching it. It was low and away from the defender, but it hit him in the hands. And Naquan Murray does not drop passes, like very rarely. And it just seemed that there was a lot of that going on, guys dropping passes, fumbling the ball. So that's why my head in here, I just keep going back to, is it maybe something with these balls? But you're right. It didn't seem to affect the Bay Area Panthers as much. So
you remind me of something, and now I got to go back and make sure I'm telling the story right. But yes, so at the end of, or close to the end of the second quarter, the end of the first half, we had a touchdown. 55 seconds left on the clock. Glenn Gibbons scores a touchdown. This was the one he caught along the goal line and twisted his body before he was down and scores the touchdown. I cannot express to you how much the game could have changed
if he would have gone down.
If he would have just gone down. Like, look, and I'm not blaming Glenn Gibbons. You score the touchdown. That's what you've trained all of your life to do, and so that's what you do. But they would have gotten a first down, 55 seconds left, and then you can milk some clock if you want to. You can literally, just eat up their timeouts or milk the clock, and then when they get the ball back, they have a much harder time moving down the field, scoring the touchdown with just, ticks left on the clock for you so that you can't do anything with it. It was such a close. If he doesn't twist and get that ball over the goal line before he goes down, I don't want to say the whole game could have changed, but that would have been that's a very sliding doors moment for this game of what happens if that's a first down on the one instead of a touchdown and giving the ball back to them.
You're right, and you don't want to give up points. But you're the mentality, and especially looking back, 2020 vision. But the flip side of that is you take your points, and how about the defense does their job?
Right, absolutely. Like
right,
sure, yeah. Because how long did it take them? They got the ball back. Oh, I'm sorry. There was 55. It was within the final minute of the game. Yes. They got the ball back with 28 seconds left in the game. And they ran 6 plays. 6 plays.
There's too much time, and they took advantage of it.
To score a touchdown with 6 seconds left on the clock.
Yep. You can't stop. You can't stop a team with only 28 seconds on the clock. You have problems on defense.
Right.
Mainly the pass coverage. There were some plays that, going back and watching the replay, where I don't know what some of the defensive backs were. Well, and
was it there? It was there in the first half. We took a timeout. I still don't understand. And I'm not a little more time. I'm not going to speculate because I don't know. It could have been we don't have the right personnel package out there. It could have been our guys just need to catch their breath on defense. I don't know what I'm sure there was a reason for it, but there was a timeout there that gave them that allowed them to hold on to a timeout that I was very confused by in the midst of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I feel for Clifton Duck because you could see I mean, he's at the end of the game. He's taking his helmet off. The game's not over yet, but it's over. And he takes his helmet off. He had a personal foul called on him after a play out of frustration. You can see how much he hates to lose. You can see how much he really, really wants to win these football games. Mm-hmm. And it's not happening. And I love this team, but I hate to call out, anybody, but I don't see that same fire that you see in Clifton Duck on the defense in a lot of the other guys on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Just gotta step it up.
I see some individual performances I'd love to call out. I think Rasco has been solid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he's a really solid football player, which is the guy we replaced Jordan Jones with. And so that will be somebody I watch all season long, is like, how is number one doing? I think he is acquitting himself very well. Is he Jordan Jones? No. But is he serviceable? Is he even better than is he solid? He's solid at that position. Jordan Jones is a spectacular player, but if he can't play, if he's going to get himself thrown out of games in the first, in the first few minutes of the second quarter, I don't need that. I need a guy that's solid and can play the whole game more than I needed a spectacular guy that's going to get thrown out of half the games.
True.
So yeah, exactly what James Palmer's saying. He's staying in the game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, 6-1 to some people. I'd rather have the amazing player. Okay, I would rather have the guy that can finish the game. So,
and he's still leading the team in tackles.
Yes,
I mean Rasco's. Yeah. He's been good, very good.
But Clifton Duck is playing on another level.
Yeah, I wish we could clone that dude and just have 4 of him back there in the defensive backfield.
Well, and remember, at the beginning of the season, our defensive backfield had 2 of those guys, with Ravarius Rivers and Clifton Duck back there, and then Ravarius Rivers ends up getting called up to the UFL, which great for him, bad for us. So
that one hurt. And that on that subject, going back to the show earlier this season that we've already talked about for a different reason, mm-hmm. I remember asking about the defense and being discussed a change in defensive philosophy, particularly in coverage, where we were going to be doing more man-to-man rather than zone, and that was going to weed out some things, and that was going to put the magnifying glass on any deficiencies real quick. And I mean, like you said, we've lost Ravarius Rivers, and maybe because of the changes during the season, we're not in a position to do that anymore. But it does seem to be our zone defense that seems to get just fleeced pretty regularly when they're playing zone.
I think it's a lot like running and passing. I think you have to. I don't think you can commit either direction. I think you get in trouble when you commit either direction. I'm going to be a man-to-man team. I'm going to be a zone team, just like you do if you're going to be a running team or you're going to be a passing team on offense. I think you have to mix it up just to keep the defense. Because look, if I know going into the game that you primarily run man-to-man coverage, there are routes that I can run that are just man beaters. They're drag routes can kill a man-to-man coverage every time, because of what defenses can do and can't do, and what offensive players can and can't do. A drag route will beat a man-to-man coverage 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I know that's
50-50, it has to be a balance.
It has to be balanced. I don't know about 50-50, but it does have to be balanced. If I know all you're going to run is man-to-man, I'm going to put in a lot of crossing routes, and I'm going to beat your man-to-man coverage. So you have to keep offenses honest, just like you have to keep defenses honest. But yes, it seems like when there is a breakdown deep on the field, it is zone coverage. And what bothers me is, are we the only one getting beat like that? Like, we don't seem to beat anybody else that way. And that's where I start going, but why? I mean, if they can do it to us, we can do it to them. I would like us to do it to them. I'm not
Let's
okay
do
with
it
them
to them.
doing it. I'm not okay with them doing it to us. But if that's going to happen, I can handle it a lot better if we flip the table and do it to them as well. If it's even, I'm more okay with it, and I don't see that.
If we're gonna take the hit, we got to be ready to punch them back in the mouth immediately in response. Like
James
that's
Palmer, did you see the duck sign in the stands? Sure did.
yes, loved it.
Jason Wood holding up the duck sign. Very cool.
There's that comment from James. I'll pull that one up. Execution isn't the same on our side of the ball, and that was a big, that was a big talking point of Coach Bain when he was on the show a couple of weeks back about execution and it not being where it needs to be. And yeah, it's 100%. It's not, but it's almost like, and that's the frustrating thing about this year for our San Antonio Gunslingers is it's almost like we're starting again. When you talk about execution on the on the offensive side, because we got a new quarterback, we're 2 games in on a new quarterback.
Yes.
And you go earlier in the season and there were other changes and it was just like a reset and another reset. And then here we are mid-season and we're 2 games into another reset. And it's really hard to be competitive when you're forced to do those sort of things. Not everything is in the Gunslingers' control. There's a lot of stuff that happens that you just got to roll with it. It's been a rough year so far.
Knowing what I know,
agree.
and you're just gonna have to take my word for it because I can't tell you everything I know. It's not that show, but knowing what I know, we are in a better position as an organization than we started the year at, believe it or not.
I would agree.
And so if that is true, then this is just growing pains. If that is true and we've gotten better on an organizational level, and I believe we have, based on what I know, then these are just growing pains. Could there have been another way to go through these growing pains at a different time, maybe in an off season? Sure. Hindsight's 2020. Yes, that probably would have been better. It's not what happened. And I truly believe we will, no matter what the record is, as an organization, we will finish the year in a better position than we started it in. And that's all I really want to say about it. But I do believe it's true. And I don't, so the big question, I kind of use some Star Wars sort of lingo about hope. Hope is a big deal in Star Wars. The very first Star Wars movie was called Star Wars. Stop coming in here telling me it was called A New Hope, but the subtitle was A New Hope. And then there's a quote I used that you had heard before, Leo, not only in Rogue One, but later on in Andor, you said, rebellions are built on hope. Yep. Well, that's kind of where we are now. We are kind of the rebels. We are kind of the ragtag underdog group of rebels at this point.
I rebel.
We're built on. We got to build this rebellion on hope. So, is there hope? Yeah,
always hope.
Oh yeah,
we're only mathematically halfway through the season, and we can start the climb up the ladder this week because we play the team right above us this week.
Yep,
Tucson is one rung above us. Let's play them and beat them and just take it a week at a time. Now, are there tough weeks in there? Are there games against Quad City, Tulsa, Jacksonville, Arizona? Yes, all of those exist. All of those are there. But I'm not worried about those right now. I'm worried about Tucson. Let's take one step up the ladder, get one step closer, and build a rebellion on hope. And hopefully, get it? Hopefully, we won't be saying what they say in Ted Lasso over and over. It's the hope that kills you.
Don't want that.
No.
That's
this is Star Wars. This isn't
Ted Lasso. This is
not Ted Lasso. We're not on Apple TV.
I have absolutely grabbed onto "It's the hope that kills you" as my Dallas Cowboys motto, though. It is
That's
You can give
fitting.
up on that.
it is the hope that kills you. Year after year, it's going into it. Going, I think we could be. You hear it already with everything that's happened in the Cowboys offseason and some of the moves they've made. Cowboys message boards are starting to pop off like, "Ooh, this could be a Super Bowl team," and I'm like, "Yep, that's what you say, folks. That's yes, sure."
But it's
Why
also
not?
their schedule. Their schedule is, I think, a little bit on their favor this year too.
Oh no, the schedule in the back half is tough for the Cowboys, but we don't want to talk
But
about
first half,
back half though.
I was trying to think of a good slogan for the Sugar Skulls. So I'm thinking, let's make Sweet and Low out of the Sugar Skulls.
melt
Sweet
the sugar skulls. This is easy.
Dump,
Melt.
melt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like squish them and make them in a sweet and low. You take sugar, crush them down.
Chase Richmond
We'll
says
figure it out. We're not going to figure it out on this show.
Chase
I
Richmond
can't think of
says-
anything for Sugar Skulls.
the hope that kills you is also the motto for the Chicago Bears. He is a big Green Bay Packers fan, so he is sticking it out there. McElwain Davis, Cowboys, this is our season. That's what you do every year. This is it. This is going to be the year. James Palmer, Cowboys son Rodgers to play. Dak will probably hurt his leg walking onto the field. I hope not. I do not like Aaron Rodgers, and so Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback for Dallas is one of those things that I'm like, I don't. Please no, please no. Don't want that. Don't like that.
I don't
What do
want
you
to digress, but something was brought up just a few moments ago by the people in the comments, by our viewers, that I think I would like to get your opinion on. I'd like to discuss this. Alex McSwain brought it up first.
All right, Alex.
Not saying we need 7, 8, 15 coaches, but 3 coaches is tough in the IFL. Understand their decision, but it's tough running a team with 3 coaches. You understand Bay Area has 9 coaches. 9.
Yes.
And then I think Michael Wayne Davis posed a question later, further on down. Do you think the number of coaches' eyes helps Bay Area make fast adjustments? Now, the disparity in the second half and really towards the tail end of that first half would indicate that maybe they saw something and made adjustments that the Gunslingers weren't able to make. And 9 pairs of eyes is definitely better than 3.
That's true.
Do you think there's something to that? Do you think that running with only 3 coaches on the team, which is, I guess, not usual within the IFL, puts the Gunslingers at a disadvantage for game time situations?
I will tell you, there's a couple of things I want to say about that. I will take 3 good coaches over 9 coaches.
Yeah.
First. And if you want 9 coaches or more coaches, we're not saying we're going to be Bay Area or we're going to be West Texas a couple of years ago. Ran out there with like 10 to 12 coaches. They had to have a whole section of the stadium for their coaching staff. James Palmer bringing that up too. Do you remember West Texas having 15 coaches? It didn't help them. I was going to say something close to that.
15's a lot.
I think it was like 10 to 12. It might have been 15. He might be right and I might be wrong. They had a lot and they weren't very good. But here's the thing. And I know that nobody that's listening to this show is to blame for this, but if you want more coaches and you want more eyeballs on the field and you think that's the way we're going to get more success, you got to get more people here because coaches cost money, and money is not something that is just pouring out of the Gunslingers organization's ears right now. Because look around the stadium at a game. It's good, but it's not what it could be. And we all understand that. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir because this is the group that listens to and follows our show that is doing what they can do to get those seats filled. But if you want more coaches, sometimes it's just simple dollars and cents. And I would rather use that money effectively. Look, I like James Fuller as the head coach, and I like Jonathan Bain a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about it's not Richardson. I can't even think of his name. Johnson. I don't know enough about Lee Johnson. I have to go off of what James Fuller and Jonathan Bain tell me about Lee Johnson and just say they believe in him, so I believe in him. I just don't know enough about him. But I don't know that tips the scales one way or the other. I couldn't tell you. I do wonder if the Gunslingers could avail themselves of some folks locally that might work with them in some sort of capacity and just be some extra eyes. Just, we hear from him a lot. He's probably listening right now. Quentin Humphrey, a former head coach of the San Antonio Gunslingers, who is available to be another set of eyeballs, and I bet he would be willing, since he's here in town, to help
and also
out.
Cheeto might be a good extra eyes because he knows the team.
So maybe there are some opportunities like that, but do I think Bay Area is that good? Look, coaches are good. It's good to have good coaches. It would be really good to start out the season with a really good coach, and that might change things for the season. But coaches don't execute. Coaches are not the player. And why is Bay Area so good? Is it because they have 9 coaches, or is it because they have Joshua Thomas and Josh Jones? I will trade them. They can have 9 coaches. They can give me Josh and Josh, and we'll see who wins. I don't think they would make that. I don't think they would make that deal.
No, they won't.
Right.
Because it's about execution on the field. So I don't know. Would it be a good thing to have more eyes on the field? Unequivocally, yes. Probably so. But there's a trade-off that has to be made there, and I'm not sure the organization can afford to make that trade-off right now.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. Yes. In all things. Yes, that's true. Even Alex brought it up, I think, just before I said something about it. Coach Q and Cheeto would be ways to, see if you could work out something where you could do that in a cost-effective manner, since they're local guys, and see if they could, lend some of their expertise. That might be a way to go.
Pay them in tacos.
Hey, look, if we're talking about getting paid in tacos, maybe I want to throw my hat in the ring. No.
Oh, Lord, we could not have that.
Coach Phillip! Yeah, let's do this,
man! Coach Higgy!
Coach P. Higgy.
Let's do it! No, I know nothing about coaching. Nothing. I will be the second person to tell you I know nothing about coaching. We've had the other person as a guest on this show before that would be the first person that would tell you I know nothing about coaching. But I would be the second person to tell you I know nothing about coaching. Alex explained it's a delicate balance between too many coaches, too many thoughts, the wrong direction that can divide a team. True. Too true. Then you might only get soft tacos.
Yeah, he's making reference to Collazo's response to our question last week about favorite breakfast tacos.
The breakfast tacos.
He's still got some learning to do. So he's got to get acclimated to South Texas. He'll learn.
Gotcha.
He won't learn much if he's going around being called Zoe, though. That doesn't help you in the taco area.
That's his name, man. That's his nickname. What can I say?
I say no to Zoe. No to Zoe.
Oh, gosh.
Just say no to Zoe. That's another T-shirt. What's up, Raul?
Raul Nava checking in, swinging by to say hi. Hey, what's going on, man? So here's what we got lined up. Tucson. We can beat Tucson. I truly believe we can beat Tucson.
We need to beat Tucson.
And then we come back home. Or getting a Higgy taco order. Yeah, we have to tell you, we have to bring up my white boy taco order again. June 7th, back in Freeman Coliseum. It's retro night, which is very exciting. I'm super excited about retro night.
That's going to be cool.
And in the midst of retro night, where we all get to wear this.
Hey,
I love it.
Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Love it.
The Quad City Steam Wheelers come to town. Now, here's an interesting thing.
What's up, Eddie?
That's your cousin there?
Yes,
Eddie?
my primo. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
His name is Villanueva with double L's. We're not just going to start calling him Nueva or Nuev or something like that. That's his last name.
Okay. You've taken this personal in a way that I did not expect. I got to tell you. Quad City Steam Wheelers come to town. It will be the first time the Quad City Steam Wheelers come to town, but not the first time that the Quad City Steam Wheeler logo is in the Freeman Coliseum. Did you know that? Do you remember that?
No.
The first time what?
The Quad City Steam Wheelers logo and name mark has been in the Freeman Coliseum before.
In the end zone, yes. Because we bought their turf.
The second field that the Gunslingers ever used, and I believe it's the field that sits outside of Gunslinger Nation now, came from the Quad City Steam Wheelers.
That's right.
In fact, if I remember correctly, and Raul is on, so he might correct me if I get this story wrong, we played the first game with the Blue Monster, the infamous Blue Monster field, that there's so much to talk about. So much talk having been made about that field. The original ownership, the OG ownership, knew that they could not field another game with that field. So they did everything they could do, scrape together every dollar they could scrape together, got in contact with Quad City, used their field, but I believe Jason had to go to Quad City
to pick it up.
And pick it up. He had to escort that back.
Yes.
To San Antonio
drove through the night.
Yeah, overnight to get it back in time. And that is, I believe, that is the practice field out at Gunslinger Nation now. Quentin Humphrey, Blue Monster gave me nightmares.
So look,
I still have a pair of shoes that are covered in blue paint over the Blue Monster.
So we talk about the infamous Blue Monster all the time, and laugh about how bad that was. But you know what? I'm glad that happened, because it's such an incredible story, and it's such a it's indicative of the beginnings and how things progress, and just even within that first season. And if I'm not mistaken, and there we've got two people here that can confirm it with Coach Q and Raul, but I think it was actually Coach Q who helped sort of come up with that idea with the Quad City Steamrollers and that old turf, because he had some connections there from his previous coaching gig. If I remember my facts correctly, he was kind of an inside guy on negotiating that deal.
He will tell us if that's the case. If you are new to San Antonio Gunslingers lore and you are like, what is the deal with the Blue Monster? The very first game, of it? I don't. Somebody does, I'm sure. The very first game the San Antonio Gunslingers ever played was in the San Antonio Rose Palace, which is up near Burning Stage Road. It is a rodeo arena owned, or at one time owned, by George Strait. And it was COVID. That's all they could get. They couldn't get in the Freeman. They couldn't get in anywhere. And so that's where they were going to have to go to play. And they were not able to set out the field that they had purchased until the night before the game. They get to the night before the game and they begin to lay this field out, if I remember correctly. And it is a puzzle piece it is a jigsaw puzzle of a field. It is not what they were sold. They were kind of sold a bill of goods because they believed it would be in strips like it's supposed to be and easy to lay out. And that's not what it was. And so in the midst of that, it looked terrible because it looked like it was even made of different pieces of turf. And it just looked Frankenstein together. And somewhere along the way, somebody said, we have to do something to make this look better. So they decided that they would get sprayers, like your weed compression sprayers, and paint the field blue
the day before, right?
The day before, and hope that would look better. It didn't. In many ways, I'm surprised we were even able to play that game against the North Texas Bulls in San Antonio Rosa. The field did not fit together right. The paint was still wet because San Antonio Rose Palace is not an indoor. It is a covered facility, but it is not an indoor facility. And so it was humid, and so the paint wouldn't dry right, which is why I have shoes that are blue, because I walked onto the field thinking the field was dry, and my field or my shoes wound up with blue specks of paint all over them. And so in the midst of that, after that first game, you could go back and find that game on YouTube and see what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
In the midst of that game, the OG ownership realized that they could not, in good faith, put another game together on that field. And so they did everything that, to their credit, did everything they could and moved heaven and earth to get another field down before the next home game. And that's when we wound up with the Quad City Steamwheelers old field that was in not perfect condition, but much better condition, and got that laid out for the next game there in the San Antonio Rose Palace. But it will forever be known in San Antonio Gunslinger lore as the Blue Monster.
Yep.
We have come a long way.
Yeah, blue paint on your feet and dust and horse manure in the air.
Oh, I bet if you drove out
and no porta potties while tailgating.
I bet if you drove out to the San Antonio Rose Palace now, there might still be over by. They had a couple of shipping containers that set out back over there where that field went to decompose. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm not saying it's there, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Blue Monster is still laying in what Raul says he thinks 64 pieces.
Wow. It took a lot of people many hours.
Stayed up all night, and we're still trying to tape it down at kickoff. I was working in T-shirts. The T-shirt stay covered in blue. Yep.
I got another one, Philip.
Okay.
Since we're being nostalgic and talking about season 1, and we're talking about things that have been, relative to today, that go way back to then. The 6 shooters.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've told this story before, but one of the changes that you and I had to definitely adjust to, and maybe I should use that word change as a pun, is the
there was nothing more uncomfortable in my life than this situation. Oh man.
6 shooters locker room or dressing room was a room on the second floor of the structure on the side of where the field was.
The death balcony.
That we had to cross through in order to get to the death balcony that RC Woods is talking about, where we were running our broadcast from.
Yep.
So we would very nervously every game be like, is it okay to go through there? Can some one of you check? Is it all right for us to pass through there? We don't want to walk in on anybody, make him feel uncomfortable. We don't, nothing inappropriate going on here. And so we would have to make sure that the coast was clear, and many of the 6 shooters were very gracious and
Yes.
would let us know, and we'd have to go through there and then go into our broadcast room, and we would close the door behind us. There were windows that you could go through, you could put our cabling through and everything. When Philip and I were always very conscious to just not ever turn around.
Yep.
Like if something were going to happen in that room back there, like we wanted to make sure that there was no question. Yeah, James Palmer says blindfolds. And then we do our post game. We do our post game, and we'd kind of carry that out a little bit just to give them some time. And then we'd be extra careful, and we'd be like waiting and like, is anybody back there? Is it safe? You know, there's no response, no answer. It's like, okay, Philip, I think it's safe.
And I would try to bring you guys water so I could go through that room, so that way you wouldn't have to be like dying up there.
It was hot.
There are moments, everybody knows this, where something happens in your peripheral vision or out of the corner of your eye. And your instinct is to look that direction because something is happening in my periphery and I can't see what it is. So that's one issue, is that can't happen up there. Because if you've ever had a cheap apartment, and everybody's had a cheap apartment, that's the setup that this door was. It was one of those sliding glass doors out to your balcony in a cheap apartment. And it had those same long hanging blinds that swing real bad. And so there's always a gap showing up there or whatever. So you see something out of the corner of your eye. That's one problem. The second problem is I do this now. You can go watch the stand-ups that Ralph and I do when we do the games now. My natural predilection is to turn and sort of cheat it out to the camera, but turn and talk to the person I'm talking to. And Leo was always on that side of me, where if I turn to talk to him, I am looking that direction, whether I'm looking that direction or not. And so I had to, should have bought some horse blinders or something that just put up, because I had no desire to peek. Like, this is not a 1980s comedy. That sounds like a setup for like a Porky's movie, but I had no desire to peek, but I was so worried that somebody was going to infer or construe that that's what was going on here. It was very uncomfortable.
Always trying to be respectful.
One of the most uncomfortable things I've ever dealt with.
Raul Nava says, sorry, guys, we're working with what we had.
Working with what they had, absolutely.
Yeah,
no major venues were open. We knew that. Rose Palace was in such a short time.
I just want to say, just in case, there's a lot of thunder going on. So if you lose me, that's probably why.
Oh, okay.
The storm's coming in.
I got you. Alex McSain says, I'm glad you have all of these stories. I wish we had a season ticket holder Facebook group. I want new fans to hear these stories. Oh, they will. We'll always tell these stories. We'll always be. It's kind of fun since we're reminiscing. I don't know how we got onto this, but since we're reminiscing, Steam Wheelers. That's how we got here. It is fun to me on some level that we, the three of us, are sort of the historians of this whole organization. We've been there through all of it. Everybody else has changed over. Coaches, owners, the three of us and Kali Rashad are the people that have been here since season 1.
And one of the 6 shooters, I can't think of her name right now. Lolis, if you're there, chime in, because I know she is, but
she's
there. Maddie? I think it's Maddie.
Maddie, yes, Maddie.
But we were there even before Kali and Maddie, because we were, when we showed up, the Gunslingers was the OG3 ownership group and Tony Hernandez, who was the head coach at the time. That was it. That was the Gunslingers organization when we started. And so everybody has come on since then or changed over. And you're right. And Dolores and Lily's. You're right. Absolutely.
Been there. Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of fun to be those torch kind of bearers and be like, hey, you know, we've seen all of this. So somebody was bemoaning the season we're having because it's not been a great season. It's been kind of rough for fans. And like, I don't even know if we, you know, can't win games and can't get people in the stands, if we'll even be able to last very long as an organization. And I've been like, hey, I've seen a lot worse.
We sure have.
I've seen it get a lot closer to just the you want to talk about by the skin of your teeth, that some of these things have had to happen. And all credit to everybody that is a part of that history, because none of this could have happened without any of those people. Without the original ownership and the original idea, without Tony Hernandez signing guys and bringing in guys from the San Antonio area to put that first team on the field, without the new ownership and the way that they have taken over and grown this thing, and without players that have come and gone, like none of this would be what it is. Is that the Thunder you were talking about, RC? Was that it?
Yes.
Jeez. Stay safe, girl. So absolutely been a blast to be a part of this. And in July, we will finish up our 5th year, calendar year of coverage, believe it or not. Raul Nava says, you guys probably know more than I do because I came in like 2 months before kickoff. I remember you and Alba. I remember all of that. It has been a fun ride and we really enjoy it. And I'm glad that it continues. And so nothing is terrible because we're still having James
and we're
Palmer
still having fun. That's the main thing.
It's been a blast. James Palmer, it's definitely grown ever since I've been around, the 2 years that he came in. Yeah, absolutely. Excalibur, good evening, fine sir, and fair maiden. Good to see you, dude. If you're looking for UFL coverage, the Brahmas stink. That is the end of our UFL coverage.
They're the worst team in the UFL.
Tell us something we didn't know.
Unfortunately.
So another interesting story. More people will remember this. The new white hat. We had a brand new white hat this week who came up and met us in our production meeting for the game with TSP. And he brought the commentators, for whatever reason, official IFL coins. These are the actual coins that they use at the coin flip. It's got
maybe
the logos,
he gave it to you for me to practice.
Logos on one side of all the teams, and the IFL logo on the other side, heads and tails. And when he handed this to me, you know what I thought of, RC?
I don't know. What? Me? Does this give you a hint?
Straight up in the air, straight back down.
Straight down.
A coin toss that you helped with last year. I actually got to talk to Matt from Matangas at the beginning before the game, and he said he thought he was doing the coin toss. And he said, I've been practicing. And I'm like, good. I'm glad you've been practicing and then I told your whole story, RC, about all of that.
Too much.
So that was fun stories, fun stuff, fun stuff. The hat Leo's wearing is from the first season.
It is
one of the best we made. That's true.
It was meant to be. I think they called it the helmet hat or something like that because it was designed to look like the helmet, white with the blue. Because at that time they had blue face masks,
right?
And then the white, and then the logo. There's no stripe on the hat, but that would have been cool. They had the red and blue stripes at the time. But yes, I love this hat.
So to circle this all back around, Quad City Steamers come to town on June 7th. And I know that some of us may look at the schedule and go, wow, they're 6-2. They're on the top of the East. That's going to be a tough game. And look, they're all going to be tough games. There's not an easy game left on the schedule. There never was. But I think that we're going to see in the second half of the season the same thing we saw last year. And that is that the West is better than the East. And I think that means that when what will be a 3-6 Gunslinger team, because we're going to beat Tucson, goes up against Quad City, the records don't mean what you think they mean. I think I think we will match up okay. We will have another game under our belt to have gelled together, and I think a 6-3 record or 6-7-3, whatever they'll be at that point, is not as impressive in the East as it would be in the West. I just don't see, as I look across the standings, teams. Fisher's Freight is not a good team. I thought they were going to be a good team at the beginning of the season. They went 2-0. I thought they were going to be a really good team. Yeah. Iowa is terrible. Massachusetts is awful. Like, all three of these teams are bad. Green Bay is a middle team. On the other side of that, in the West, Arizona Bay Area, we've talked about them. They're really good teams. Vegas, San Diego, Tucson, San Antonio are all the next rung. Now, is that good? Is that bad? Is that in the middle? I think it tends to be in the middle. But they don't have that. They have three teams at the top. I think those three teams, if you cycled them into the West, would be right in the middle with the rest of us.
Right.
I don't think teams that you can beat up on. And I think that's why you see some 6-3 teams that I don't know, 6-2 teams that are not necessarily. Look, we've played Tulsa twice, and they beat us twice, to be fair. But in neither of those cases did I think that we were overmatched.
No.
That we were playing a 6-2 team, and we're just 2-6. Like, I didn't feel like there was this huge chasm between us. Are you saying we're in the wrong conference? No. We're in the conference we're in, and so we just got to suck it up and deal with it. But
well, look, if they take care of business this week and beat Tucson, and I know that's what they're focused on, which is very doable. I agree with you on that, Philip. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
Then you're talking about the next game away at Quad City, their Eastern Conference. So, we don't know, but if you look at records, you might go, oh man, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But even so, let's say they have a hard time. It's an away game, so then, and they lose to Quad City. And that's at home. Sorry. That's a home game.
Yeah, that's here.
So we'll have the home crowd supporting. Then you go away to Tulsa, like you just mentioned, which we've given them all they can handle. And by that time, we may have a little, with the continuity, and we may have things going a little bit better. So let's say if they can handle that Tulsa game, they have to beat Tucson. But Quad City is a question mark. If they handle that game on Tulsa, against Tulsa, then they got San Diego again. And we know they can beat San Diego, and then back home again against Tucson. So if they take care of business in those other games and then lose to the 6-2 team, that's still going 4-1 in the next 5 games and put them right in the thick of things.
Right.
So
we got
main thing is we got to beat Tucson. If we can't beat Tucson, then we'll make more memories and stories to talk about and laugh about, and look forward to 2026 season.
Yeah,
because they have to win this game. They have to beat Tucson.
Yes,
this is a must win. We've talked in previous weeks. Is this game a must win? And we've had reasons for it being or not being. There's no debate. This is a must win game.
The must winningest game we will play this season is the next one. Every game we play is the must winningest game we play, and so that's
mustiest
winningest game. Yes,
got it. Okay.
That's how the English language works.
Muy importante.
I like that better. That sounds better. So begin to get your bullseye in for this week. I'll start with URC Bullspit Bullseye for the Star Wars night and the football game against Bay Area. What were your bullseye, RC?
My bullseye would be the 6-shooters. For a couple reasons. One, I thought they looked great in the new outfit that they had and those sabers that they were using. I love that they changed up their routine. Also, I'm excited about the girls camp that they're having coming up June 28th
Yes.
or 29th. I'll have some more info on that. The third quarter where we scored 0 points. We have to do better on that. We have to at least score every quarter if we're thinking we're going to win a game.
Agreed. At least score every quarter. That is a low bar in arena football, but I think you're right. I think that is a bar we have to start thinking about and making sure we're clearing, because you're right. As you go ahead and get in, see, James Palmer agrees with me. We can't have any more L's, so it's Zoe, because we
not
don't
even
need
double. Well, we need the double L's.
Nope, no double L's. He just said we can't have any more L's. So there you go. It's from James Palmer himself. Leo, bullspit bullseye.
Bullspit is just the intensity on defense from people not named Clifton Duck. Got to pick up the intensity and not have those mental errors that we've witnessed. So that's my bullspit for this game, because I think that's what really put the Gunslingers in a very tough position, especially at the end of the first half, where, like you said, 28 seconds, you go in feeling good about yourself. James Palmer says Leo doesn't want those types of L's. Exactly. My bullseye, I mean, besides kicking the field goals, I mean, it feels awkward to say that after taking a spanking like that, so I'll leave that alone, but I will mention it. But my bullseye is Keyshawn Harper and the hard running that he did in the one play where he pulled that defender. That was an amazing play. So that was my bullseye of the week, watching that play. Great guy, great running back. That was an amazing play. Unfortunately, it didn't make a difference in the outcome of the game, but that was still a great play. None
coming in yet on our comments here, so I'll go. My bull spit is just going to be like losing. I can't get used to losing. I don't like losing. And this one, for whatever reason, maybe it was just the hope that came out of that game against San Diego, and it feels like we're turning a corner, and then to walk in and play okay in the second or in the first half and hope that we can keep it close and get the game in the second half, and just for that all to fall apart was really demoralizing. It was a loss, and I don't ever like losing, but this particular loss just, I don't know, sapped some of the momentum that I felt like we could have built into the season. So I don't like that. And that's probably the worst thing, was I felt like we were turning a corner, and instead we did not. My bull's eye would be the play of Joaquin Collazo. He didn't win the game. He threw 2 interceptions. But he still looked like our quarterback. You're not going to win every game.
Fair enough.
You're not going to have, we talked about this just before we went on the air. Not every quarterback is not Sam Castronova. You're going to turn the ball over some. Like, those things are going to happen. That's why the rest of your team has to step up and play with an intensity and with a passion that Leo's talking about. Seems like at times it's missing. You can't put all of that on the quarterback. That's not fair. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. But Joaquin, just from before the game all the way through the game, looks like the leader I expect our quarterback to be.
You nailed it.
I watched him in pregame warm-up I watch the players more closely than I think they realize. I love Tyler. Tyler Huddle encourages, talks to, and befriends every other kicker I've seen him interact with. Like he and the kickers from the other team, they spend time together, talk before games, work together in a way that it just seems fraternal. Like we're in this. Look, we're on separate teams, but we both understand our part of the game that no one else will understand. It's kind of like goalies in hockey.
Yeah.
Nobody understands the goalie's position like other goalies, and so there's a fraternity. Quarterbacks are that way too. But I see that from Tyler. I watched Joaquin very closely before this game, and I saw things that led me to believe that win or lose, we've got the guy we need to move forward with. And I'm glad that there's no question about that. There's nobody calling after this loss and 2 interceptions for let's start Zach Reeder. Let's go sign Frank Harris. Let's go beg Guy to come back. Like there's none of that. We all go, okay, that sucks. We hate losing. But Joaquin's the guy. Like we don't doubt. I like that. And I'm happy that we're in that position. If that, even if we don't win, I'm happy that we have a guy that feels like he is the guy.
Our leader.
Yeah. Some others coming in from other folks. Alex McLean, Bull's Eye. I saw Christoph Page brought Mike Miller and Kyle Myers to church. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
At North Rock Church on Sunday. Bull spit the turnovers. Easy answer there, Alex. I don't blame you. The turnovers is a great bull spit. That's a great way to go. James Palmer, Bullseye, our theme jerseys and merch. Bull spit the loss. And then Mo, Bull spit, heartbreak watching the second half. Bullseye, Collazo being mobile and balanced with runs and passes where he needs to. I agree. We are the Smoking Guns Podcast. We're brought to you by some incredible people that are our patrons. They have gone to patreon.com/smokinggunspod. That's smoking no G guns with a Z, P-O-D. And they've signed up to support our show. Those folks are Alfred Rodriguez. You've seen him tonight as the missions highlighter. James Palmer, Jay Washington, Jordan Stubing, James Stubing, Kim and Greg Nelson, and Mo and Iris Ferrante. They are all part of that group that keeps our show going. And Jessica Palmer as well. James and Jessica Palmer, you're right. James, she's just as big a part of that as you are. Your name's on it, but Jessica's part of that too. If you would like to be a part of that group and help us make the show go and then help us have a little bit of money left over to send kids to football camp, which is coming up June 20th.
Coming up, yeah. Cheerleading camp too.
You okay there? You okay, RC?
I think so. That was really loud. Did you hear that?
We did. No, we heard it. Or Six Shooters Camp coming up on June 27th. Ooh, I saw another one.
Ooh,
wow.
Yeah. Yikes.
You're on the northwest side of town, right?
Alamo Ranch area.
Yeah. So that's going to be riding through your area here pretty soon, Leo.
Yeah, it's coming.
Those are great folks that help us make the show go. If you'd like to be a part of that group, go to patreon.com/smokinggunspod. Smoking no G guns with a ZPOD. You can help us support the show. If you want to find us on social media, we are at Smoking Guns Pod all over social media. You can find us on Facebook and probably Instagram, maybe Twitter or X or whatever you call it now. But Facebook is our primary area that we spend our time. You can also email the show at Smoking Guns Pod. You starting to get something there, Leo?
I'm starting to hear it now, yeah.
Gotcha. Jessica Palmer says everyone stay safe with all the storms coming. We're going to have rain the rest of the week. That's what I hear. That's what it looks like.
Be safe.
Be safe out there for sure.
And prayers to the announcer for recovery.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Stepped in and we hope he continues to get better. From what I understand, he was good on Saturday night, but they didn't want him to overexert himself, and so that's why they replaced him with a member of our crew. James Palmer says he's crying because we lost. I think he's talking about God. God's crying. That's what all that thunder and stuff is. And Missions Highlighters starting to hear some thunder too. You guys stay safe out there. If you get it now, I'll get it about 3.5 or 4 hours from y'all. So middle of the night, I'm probably going to wake up to the same storms you're dealing with now because I'm down the road quite a bit. So y'all stay safe in San Antonio. I'll stay safe down here on the coast. With all that being said, when it comes to the best indoor football presentation, it's not in Tulsa. It's not in San Jose. It's not in Vegas or down in Jacksonville.
Nope.
The best indoor football presentation, the best experience in indoor football. When it comes to that, the 210 has got something to say.
Bang, bang.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe. Download the show when it comes out tomorrow or later tonight. I might do it tonight I'll probably do it tomorrow. And make sure you share it out when it hits social media so that we can get more people on board and get more coaches. If that's what you want, we gotta give them the money to do it. So, thanks so much, everybody. We will see you on the other end. I want everybody to get safe and hunker down.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
y'all.
Enjoy your night.